Warning, this podcast may contain spoilers to both the comic books and TV series of Invincible, which is now available to watch on Amazon Prime. Hello everybody, welcome to the Betatalk podcast. I am your host, Kieron, and once again joined by my co-host, Lewis Baker.
Hello everybody.
And once again we have special guest, Harry Jones, or Hello Students as you formerly know him as.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me back on the podcast. I'm especially looking forward to this one, as it's basically the same reason I did last time. It was an Amazon Prime show about a slightly edgy take on superheroes, and so and I've returned.
So we're here to talk about our thoughts on the on the Amazon show Invincible, which is based on the comic book series by the same is it Robert Kirkman, the same writer behind
Robert Kirkman, yeah,
the same guy behind the Walking Dead comic series, oddly enough, which is pretty interesting.
They would explain a lot. They would explain a lot of the visuals.
And this show is about a character, a guy called Mark Grayson who discovers his powers because of his dad, Nolan, who's played by J.K. Simmons, is a superhero from a different planet, but he's not kind of what he seems.
Which can I add was a fantastic casting decision.
Yes.
Oh, he's so good.
Such a good choice.
I can agree that J.K. Simmons, honestly, knocked it out of the park.
Genuinely, like, he has an ability to, even though he is as a person is so nice and lovable, he's so good at playing like assholes and manipulative people. You just need to watch Whiplash to know.
Whiplash, yes.
Like his range, he's so good, and especially in this, he's like goes so well from being the nice father figure to, actually wait, hold on, there's something more going on here, and I don't want to go too much into that now. I'll let you carry on, Kieron.
Yeah, we do, and also Mark Grayson is played by Stephen Yeun. I think he was from the Walking Dead series, unless I'm wrong.
He was. What's his name?
I can't remember his character.
He's the one. Spoilers, but I mean it's a meme now. He gets hit with the baseball bat, doesn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. It shouldn't be a spoiler at this point, because I mean they're
been out
like on their last season. Yeah, he gets his head absolutely caved in by Negan, it's pretty gruesome.
So yeah, J.K. Simmons plays Zombie-Man, which is the dad of the kid. That basically where the name Invincible comes from, with Mark coming up with that name. And every time, like, he would go, and then the title card just pop up, and then a little splatter of blood.
Shall we
I do like that.
But before we get into the actual, we might as well start with the title card. What the general thoughts on how the title card is in the show?
I think it was shown it was going to get darker each time.
Because we briefly talked about this, I think a few days ago, Kieron. We like the idea that the first time they do it is it's like a joke. It's like, oh, haha, like, oh, this is, I get it now. It's going to be a bit uplifting. And then immediately after they show that title card, they do quite a big thing, which we'll get into in a minute. And then every preceding title card just gets like slightly more bloodier, and it's like, oh, that's cool. And I love between episode 7 and episode 8, it's like, it's a bit dirty, and episode 8 is just the whole logo is
just completely covered, yeah,
just depleted in blood, and it's like, oh, I see. But it was able to turn like quite a jokey thing, almost like a comment on when the superheroes do the I'm Iron Man or I'm Captain America, like the big thing, and managed to use it to be a tone setter as well. Like it's so good. Oh, right.
The show itself is amazing. It's definitely and I've agreed that a lot of people really do like how it kind of came out from the comics into a proper series that actually looks amazing.
It really does. Like, it flourishes exactly where it needs to. There's a couple in terms of. Do you want to talk about the animation for a little bit? Because there are something. So, okay, we'll start off with animation. We'll try and save spoilers till later on, because we want, we don't want people to get spoiled immediately. So the animation itself generally is like pretty good. I like through especially like especially the last episode. But I did notice at points like where like evidently the budget was like running thin at points. Like if you look in the background or look at the city or look at like a big crowd of like the aliens and stuff, you notice that where it's like they had to skimp out a little bit just to like get the other stuff like looking as good as it does, but it doesn't take away too much. Like it's the first series. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, for what it is, it's not too bad. It does look like your typical cartoon show at first when you like look at Cartoon Network. You're like, oh, okay.
The animation style reminds me of I don't know if you've seen any of like the kind of like the early 2000s, 2010s like Justice League cartoons.
Yeah, like
Teen
Titans,
yeah, and stuff like that. Which I'm assuming is definitely
that was what I was getting the
inspiration.
I will say though, the animation isn't too bad. I mean, I would imagine it'll probably get better because there is a second season and a third season that's already been confirmed, which is amazing.
The thing is, it works really well because obviously saving spoilers till later, but in the first episode,
we will warn you.
It's very rather PC. It's very chill. There's not much crazy, too much like, you know.
I've heard a lot of people say like the first 30 minutes of Invincible could fit in quite nicely with like the DC animated shows.
It really could.
90s. It could.
It seems so typical.
It's so like, it seems so child friendly. Obviously, it's not because it is an adult. It is an adult show. But yeah, you learn that it's not child friendly later on.
No, you really don't.
And for the rest of the series.
Do not watch this show if you are easily spooked by blood, for the love of God.
This thing could get gruesome at some points.
If you don't like any blood or violence or any bodily fluids, there's really no point in watching this show.
It's like one of the only shows where you have to put an advisory warning of there will be many bodily fluids in this and not in the way you expect.
Well,
even in the title cards.
I'm pretty sure we did with the bloody boys.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I will say this show is probably less dark than The Boys because it actually focuses on superheroes from different planets rather than some drug that, you know.
Yeah, well, because The Boys is supposed to be kind of like, I think it's supposed to be a more realistic take on superheroes.
Yeah.
Because obviously this is...
Yeah, like The Boys is more like
it's more grounded, if that makes sense.
It's a bit more grounded. It's more so The Boys, because obviously these two shows are getting compared a lot. But the thing is, The Boys is more of like a critical look at society. We live in a society. It's a critical look at like society and superhero, because obviously it's a massive thing right now, has been since the first Avengers film was released, and so there's a lot of The Boys is more of a satirical look at how more of the celebrity likeness of superheroes are, and how that would affect like the world and what people would really think of superheroes and how they'd actually act if they had these powers. Whereas Invincible is more, I'd say, about. Invincible does more what ifs they were real rather than focusing specifically on being critical of society. Because we don't have an equivalent to Omni-Man in real life, whereas Homelander is very much like who's the guy who's in the Transformers films, like Ted something or Mark. What's he called?
Mark Grayson.
Mark. Say that again.
Mark Grayson. Is that
no. The actor Mark, who's in Ted, and
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Homelander is basically Mark Wahlberg, like the big hotshot celebrity asshole kind of guy. But if he had superpower, that's what it is. Whereas Invincible's more like a what if concept, but done really well.
Yes.
That would be the difference between the two shows. We'll try not to bring The Boys up too much because I really want to focus on Invincible. That's the last I'll try and bring up.
Shall we also talk about the voice cast for this besides J.K. Simmons, Stephen Yeun, and Sandra? Is it Sandra? I'm trying to make sure I don't get these names wrong. I think it was like the mum who.
Sandra Oh.
Yeah, I think she played. She was in Killing Eve.
I'm gonna make a bold statement. I don't think there's a single bad acted character in this show.
There isn't. What was it?
Like we can talk about the writing of characters later, but in terms of how they were performed, there is not a single bad performance.
It kept me
in this entire
entertained.
show.
It kept me entertained, and that's what I liked about it.
My favorite realization of who was in the cast was one of my favorite actors, Jason Mantzoukas.
Yes,
as Rex, which was so good.
That was so good.
We're gonna get head on later because I need to be controversial here and say I like Jason, but I didn't like Rexplode. He did a good job of playing an asshole.
Yeah,
I can agree. Yes, the character of Rexplode, I'm not a fan of.
Okay,
not necessarily.
We'll save that for
just as who he is.
Yeah,
but Jason does a good job as voicing him.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's all the Mark Hamill as well.
Mark Hamill, Gillian Jacobs,
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen back as another alien again.
but plays a character that just isn't him. Like he actually does.
Yeah,
it's kind of different.
Admittedly, Seth Rogen has played some characters in the past which haven't been him, and he's now. I don't know if anyone's seen the picture of him recently with.
He shaved, didn't he?
He doesn't even look.
Oh god, he looks
so
weird. Yeah. So weird.
He'll glow up though. That's the thing. This is going to be his new thing. He's going to look fabulous soon. I guarantee it.
Yeah. We've also had Titan, who's played by. I'm really trying to say these names right. Is it?
Wait, which one is it?
Titan. He was played by
Oh yeah.
The guy who's going to play
Ali.
Yeah,
Mahershala. I'm gonna say it's Mahershala. My best guess.
Mahershala, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He did a good job. I can't wait to see him in Blade as well. Also, some of the other characters, probably this is what is going to come to my least favourite character in the show. I don't know if any of you agree with me. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Amber.
I cannot wait to talk about Amber. We're gonna let's hold off.
Bitch.
Okay, we'll hold off on it for now.
Motherfucker.
But again, just quickly want to say, Zazie Beetz did a fucking good job of voicing
Yes,
he did. Zazie Beetz nailed it. We're gonna talk about Amber later.
It's funny because they almost if you look at her and Amber in the show, it looks like they almost made her look like Zazie. Yeah, looks like they made her look like Zazie.
And I think that was a good decision because Zazie Beetz has got a really cool hairstyle and really cool just general fashion. So it just basically made it perfect. I think they must have done that. They must have done that for most of the characters. I mean, look at Omni-Man.
He
just looks like a young J.K. Simmons. Same with
it looks like
looks like Mark.
The Daily Bugle.
Yeah, because if you look at the comics, like Invincible looks fairly the same. And so Stephen Yeun's kind of just a perfect cast for him. But then with Omni-Man, they changed him a bit to look a bit more like J.K. Simmons. And even before I heard Omni-Man's voice in the trailer, I was like, oh, that looks like J.K. Simmons. So when he started speaking, it didn't even kind of... Yeah. I didn't have the realization. I just kind of accepted it. And that's with Zazie Beetz, and also you've got Gillian Jacobs who plays Eve. Yeah, equally same again. She's blonde, but
I also think Walton Goggins as Cecil Stedman was a good choice.
Cecil's fucking good.
Oh, they also had Jason Rowland from Rick and Morty to voice a couple of the characters. He didn't voice anyone big, but he did cameo. There was John Hamm, who was a Secret Service agent. He did alright. And then I think the guy he is it Isaac Miller, who played the Flash. Well, not the Flash in this, but plays the Flash in the Justice League. But he played that student who was like a mad scientist. He did a pretty good job with the voice. Not gonna lie.
No, I can't talk about that yet. We'll wait till we.
We will say when we get into spoiler territory. Even though this is a spoiler review, but we.
Are we okay to move on to story now though?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if there's anything that we've discussed animation and the cast. I feel like we should just
get into the
good stuff.
Nitty-gritty, yeah.
into spoiler territory.
I'm gonna say, well, Kieron, do you want to like just explain the general plot, or do you want to like?
So basically, this is about Mark Grayson.
Oh, actually, I tell you what. Before we start talking about the story, my delivery order is like 5 minutes away, so
right.
I'm gonna call reception. We'll take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll get into spoilers and all the rest. I'll be back.
Okie doke.
In about 5 minutes, boys.
Yeah.
All right, no worries.
That's fine. Right, so we're now heading into spoiler territory with the story. So basically,
yes.
So basically, to give a rundown what the story is, it's a guy about Mark Grayson, just a teenager who discovers his powers. His dad, known as Omni-Man or Nolan, learns that he, does get these powers one day from throwing a bin bag in over to London, which I did like in the second episode where they actually showed like
where it landed.
Yeah. And everyone was shocked, and then you just saw, oh, that's what it was. So that's where it went. So yeah, it's about him discovering his powers. His dad teaches him how to use his powers, and like he's fighting for the good side. He thinks his dad's a hero, like what his dad used to tell him as a kid. And it seems all innocent until the very end of the first episode.
Yes, because as we said earlier, obviously, like everything seems to be going well, and Mark fights this like laser soldier guy and goes, "You're not going to be able to stop me. And then the title card, Invincible, comes up, and you're like, "Oh, hell yeah, this show's really cool." And then the Guardians of the Globe, we haven't really talked about yet.
Oh, yes, Guardians of the Globe, the old crew.
Basically, the Justice League of this world is essentially what they are.
That is what they are. They're not Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're Guardians.
No. The Guardians of the Globe. You've got your Batman character, your Superman, your Wonder Woman, your Flash, and then you've got a few other like miscellaneous characters as well.
You got your Aquaman as well. You've got
the fish guy who's just Aquaman, not a sexual predator this time. They changed that from The Boys.
Yeah.
That was quite a good change. And essentially, they all get a little a beeping sound saying, "Oh, you need to come back." And the Batman character, whose name I can't remember, I think it's Darkwing?
Darkwing, yeah.
Darkwing gets there last, and they all go, "Oh, why have you called us here, Darkwing?" He says, "I don't know." And then the Flash character notices something, goes to push the Superman character away, and we see Omni-Man fly in and nearly punch one of the superheroes, and they all collectively realise that something's wrong with Omni-Man. And this all comes to a head when he keeps trying to hit people and the Flash character keeps putting them out of the way. And then he just grabs the Flash man's head and just squeezes it while he's just repeatedly punching him in the stomach at like faster than the speed of sound. The Flash man's head eventually explodes and it takes about 10 seconds. And the reason
he does it really slowly, doesn't he? It's like,
The reason I bring up that it takes 10 seconds is because he says to his girlfriend not 5 minutes earlier in the episode that he perceives seconds as hours. Like, he perceives time incredibly slowly. Mm-hmm. That's how he's able to keep consciousness when he goes so fast.
Yeah.
Imagine how long that must have felt when Omni-Man is crushing his head.
It's like
that must be that's suffering at its pure finest.
One of the strongest beings in the universe is crushing your skull. Oh my god. So that's one thing I was gonna say. And then Omni-Man proceeds to beat the crap out of the rest of the Guardians of the Globe. And then he just falls over, faints, and essentially is just out for the count.
And then he pretends to be like he also got attacked as well, so it was by somebody else. And this is where what's his name? I'm trying to think. Cecil, yes. And it is played by a guy that tends to usually be the villain in most scenarios, but he actually plays a good guy this time. Like he came in, like he saw what was going on, like with what happened. And it's like, okay, he's knocked out as well, and then like they get him to feel better, like they get Omni-Man back on track, and then they're still trying to figure out what's going on. And they bring out this like Hellboy like detective.
Yeah, he is
Damien
very
Darkblood.
Hellboy, isn't
Yeah.
he?
It does remind me of Hellboy, yes.
Yeah, he does. He's because he's like the first kind of like he's the first for like half the season or like a bit more than half the season. He's kind of like the one that, he's the one that kind of like believes. Yeah, he knows.
He gets it. He knows that something doesn't add up.
Yeah, and he immediately clicks on to who it is.
Mm. And then just through the fact that like he's putting, because the thing is he is objectively correct. He's piecing it together. That's why he's a good detective. And because he gets so close to figuring out that Omni-Man did it, Cecil knows that if Omni-Man gets called out or busted, then Omni-Man might lose his shit. So he just sends him to hell, which is, I mean, that happens a few episodes later, but it just straight up sends him back to hell. And one of the best lines is from his like secretary goes, "Is he dead?" He goes, "No, he's just in hell." And I just saw fucking meme that said, "Yes, but that's worse. You understand how that's worse?"
Yeah. I thought you were religious.
It's like, where's literally oh yeah, what are you, religious? So, yeah, basically, as a result of him finding out that Omni-Man's like obviously doing something wrong, he gets sent away. And what I really like about this show is it doesn't do the whole thing of, oh my god, who killed them all? It's, oh, we know Omni-Man killed them all, but we have no idea why. And they just leave that hanging so that it's constantly on your mind. So for every scene where he's like looking after his family, or for every scene where he's training Mark, or for every scene where he's, doing something good, you're just sitting there thinking, but wait, no, but he's not a good person, so what's going on? And that is how I think you deliver a good kind of, the way they pay it off, which we'll get into in a moment, he's so good, and it's because we already know he's a bad guy, so there's not like what I would call like an overwhelming info dump of a plot twist. Like, we already have enough kind of information to know, like, to generate some kind of theories, and then when it happens and it kind of lines up, it just works as a payoff. So
this is the thing. So like after the first episode, when I saw when he just completely killed the Guardians of the Globe, I was very confused, obviously, as most people were.
You're wondering if the Guardians of the Globe were actually the bad guys at first, and there must be a reason.
What I was thinking was like, oh, he must be being controlled or something, or like someone's like, or like there's a higher power making him do this or something. That's what my kind of theory was, because I was like, surely if he's a superhero, there's like, he's got to have a good reason for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he had a reason.
He had a reason, but when you find out in the last episode, it's a very selfish reason, really.
And we'll get to the last. I would let's say that for last, because we already know some stuff we want to put. Let's briefly talk about. We've generally got the gist of the story. That Omni-Man's a bit weird. Let's talk about Mark and his
life.
For a bit, yeah, because he starts off the episode getting beaten up by a bully for a girl called Amber, and then afterwards he goes to his job, gets his powers, come back. Bully tries to beat him up again, and obviously at this point he'd been punched by his dad, who's a god.
Yeah.
So he ain't taking shit from
So it's like, go on, punch me, and he just punches him.
Nothing happens.
He's just terrified, and he just runs away.
It's so good. And then ultimately Amber takes a bit of a liking. She's like, oh, this man stuck up for me, he's taken all these punches, he evidently seems quite nice. Gives him the phone number, and then we get our first blossoming relationship between Amber and Mark. But also, while this is going on, Mark becomes friends with a girl from his school, Eve,
who is Adam and Eve?
Atom Eve.
Atom Eve, yeah.
Who can like generate force fields. She's basically kind of like Violet from The Incredibles, but she can fly. She can generate like pink force fields and stuff. And
she also seems like she kind of seems like a mix of Violet and like the Scarlet Witch almost.
Yes, that's a good comparison. She's very much. And then eventually, he goes on to meet the teen. What the teen team is it?
Yeah.
The teen team who live inside a bridge, which I thought was quite cool, and like do crime fighting there. And we get to meet one of the objectively best characters in the show, Robot.
Yeah, it's played by Zachary Quinto.
He has a very interesting arc.
He does. Well, I don't want to not do him justice, but I don't want to sidetrack for too much, so I want to quickly cover Robot. He's essentially trying to create a human version of himself so he can kind of live.
Fail and live, and yeah.
The reason why is a bit weird, and I don't.
I think it was he took a liking to Monster Girl, who was like a child, but she was 24, 25 years old.
She's 25 years old, but she's like every time she uses the thing,
she de-ages.
She de-ages,
so she gets younger.
And it's one of the weirdest, like, because I don't even know how to tackle it without like any way you look at it, it's weird, and I don't really know.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of like but it's kind of like
Oh, okay.
It gives me the same energy as people who like Google how old Sonic characters are to see if they're allowed to like do like, and it's just like,
let the mime rhyme free.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh no, don't worry, it's fine. She's 24. It's like, okay, all right, sure, I guess.
It's like
taken out with a grain of salt.
That are like crushing over a teenage girl in an anime show, and they're like, no, she's actually 1,000 years old, and it's like,
yeah, it's exactly that, and it's like, it's one of the parts of Invincible. I'm a bit like, are we sure we need, like, because I'm sure it's from the comics. I'm sorry, are we sure we wanted to keep this over? We could have changed it. It could have been that, she's actually 80 and she now looks like a 30-year-old. That would have been a bit more normal. I think that would be a bit more. I think when she looks like a kid, the implications of it are so much weirder. I don't know. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked with Robot and Monster Girl. What I wanted to say was Mark joins them, the Teen Titans, and eventually they become the Guardians of the Globe because, Omni-Man beat the shit out of the rest of them.
Yeah.
And while he isn't part of the Guardians of the Globe, he does work with them, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he
joins them for a bit and helps them out.
He's essentially he's like Spider-Man to the Avengers in like most of the he's not in the Avengers, but he helps out.
Yes.
Yeah, because he just prefers working on his own, doesn't he?
He does work on his own, and also his dad like wants him to stay away from the globe, and we know why now. But
yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about Amber.
Oh, here we go. You're right.
And that whole thing. So, who wants to go? Who wants to explain kind of their whole story? Because the
best way. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but my best way of like explaining Amber is like her and Mark get into a relationship. She obviously doesn't know that he's a superhero.
Well,
and she doesn't know that he has powers or anything. Well, as far as we know. So, and she kind of comes off as a bitch. Like further and further on, the more you watch, you're like, okay, yeah, we don't like her because like in one episode when they go to visit like his friend's like boyfriend in like college, the DA Sinclair bloke who becomes like he makes these evil like robots out of people. He like saves them, but he does it in a way so they don't find out that it's him apart from his mate. His mate knows who he is. That he finds out that episode that it's Mark is invincible. But yeah, so he has to make an excuse without exposing himself as invincible to Amber, and Amber's obviously being a bitch. She's having a go, and then when she finally when she knows that he's invincible, she says that she knows,
and she knew for a few weeks, which is also a bit of a punch to the face, and still having
and she still acted like horrible to him.
I can understand.
And it's like, if you know, just tell him you know and say like and be understanding. Don't.
There's a few problems with that Amber.
She's infuriating,
right? Is that they tried to apparently it was like the way they did it in the comics. They like took certain scenes and and like rejigged them. But the problem with doing that is it's completely recontextualized the previous scene and made it really weird, because it comes across really like selfish and to a point kind of like gaslighty. It's like, oh, you weren't there for me, why did you run away? It's like, no, but you know he's invincible, and you know that if he didn't do that, people would have died. And so it just gets worse and worse, because the problem is, up until she says, like, yeah, I know you're invincible, we as the audience are like completely on her side, because it's like, oh, she doesn't know, she doesn't understand, and obviously she just thinks she's getting ignored and abandoned by this person that she's, you know, loves. So, oh, of course she's upset, of course she's angry. Like, I'm almost getting annoyed with Mark a little bit, and then she does the, oh, I know you're a superhero, to kind of be like, oh, actually I'm quite smart and I've already deduced it. I was like, well then why are you being a fucking dick?
Yeah.
This is why I think people liked Eve a lot better, because even though she was a superhero as well, she could understand Mark and why. And even then, she even covered for him, like when he got beaten the shit out of, and all that Amber knew was that he got hit by a bus.
What was one of the most infuriating scenes when she was like, "You didn't come to the soup kitchen." It's like, "Oh yeah, sorry. I the reason I didn't come to help the people in the homeless shelter is because I was literally beaten up by the most powerful being in the known universe." But go off, I guess. And I don't want to make it too political, and please, Kieron, feel free to cut this out if it's not appropriate for the podcast. But a lot of people have been saying if you dislike Amber, if you dislike her character, it's just showing your hidden bias. And I don't need to say the word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the issue is that we don't have an issue with Amber. We have an issue with Robert Kirkman's writing. And I feel like people aren't saying that. Like, Robert Kirkman failed when writing this scene.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't do a good enough job.
It made... Like, originally we were kind of like, okay, we can kind of understand where Amber's coming from. Yes, he's being late, and this can be a bit of a piss take, you know, like most of the time. And then, you know, he's really trying. You can see he's really trying to get, like, he tries to take a break from superhero stuff so he can focus on. And then obviously superhero stuff happens. He has to go and say, because otherwise someone's gonna get hurt. And then she has to go at him again. But then also it's like when you find out that she knew for weeks.
Yeah,
it's still a little bit of a punch to... It's like, then why...
It is a punch in the gut, and that.
I could understand why you were getting upset for him being late, but then you didn't have to just throw it when he's literally... His life is being threatened. Yes, he may be a superhero, he can fly, but he's literally bleeding. He's getting punched. He's literally having to go to the hospital, to a hidden hospital, so he can heal. Because if he doesn't, he could potentially die.
I have issue as well with... I guess we'll segue on to episode 8 as a result after this, but yes. I have issue with the fact that she goes back to him after the main events of episode 8, almost to be like, oh, because it's meant to come across as like I finally get it now, but it's like, but you already knew, so this just comes across as really like
feels
hollow.
Off. It feels, yeah.
And I think as well for the rest of Invincible, and I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about this, I don't think Mark should be in a relationship. It's kind of a tired trope in superhero things. I think him and Eve should stay friends. I think Amber should still be a character that becomes a friend. Or, well, maybe, depending on, you know, his opinions on Amber, because I know mine would be pretty shattered after that. But I don't think that Mark should be in a relationship, because I think the trope has been done to death. We've seen it in...
Yeah.
It gave me the vibes of Spider-Man 2, which is a good film, but it was made in 2004 when the trope was kind of new, and it wasn't called a trope. So,
and obviously you've had all the old like the old, like the I can't remember his name, Christopher something, the Supermans, like the old like 80s, 70s Supermans.
Yeah.
Like that basically started near enough with Superman in those films, because obviously, you know, he fell in love with Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Then that's where like the superhero relationship trope kind of started. And even now, like 30, 40 years later, we're still doing it.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit like
come on, it's a bit, you know, you're a bit worn out at this point.
Exactly. Anyway, episode 8. Shall we discuss it?
This kind of ties in with episode 7 as well.
Episode 7 and 8 are kind of.
Well, this is basically where Mark finds out what his dad's real intentions are and why he killed the Guardians.
And he didn't tell him the entire truth about what his plan actually was.
Yeah. So a bit of context in episode 7. The government, the Pentagon, have basically figured out that it is Omni-Man who's killed it. They know that. Just I think they just pieced it together. So their plan is they have to get Debbie, the wife, and they need Mark so he can somehow face up against Omni-Man. They throw everything they have at Omni-Man,
satellites, they throw jets, they throw everything. They make sure that, and they even bring
they throw the thing, the what is it?
They bring back.
It was shown in a previous episode, but the kaiju, I think it is.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah,
and they quote drug it up on everything we have. Also, it hates you, which is quite a good line. And so what ends up happening is Mark, after he's done talking to Amber, goes to fight this thing, or he's with Eve, isn't he? And then he goes to fight the kaiju with Omni-Man. Yeah. And he's like, oh, it's time for a team up. And they do this, and they kick the crap out of the kaiju. But then also, I think what's he called? Immortal?
Immortal, yeah.
Which is a fucking brilliant name. So Immortal, who was killed, comes back.
He comes back to life.
Beat up Omni-Man, only to then be killed again. Only this time, Mark witnesses this, and he's like, "Dad, what's happened?" And Omni-Man goes, "Son, we need to talk," and explains basically that he is from Voltron, which he was honest about. He was, his planet is a utopia, but it's very Darwinian, or about where it's survival of the fittest.
Yeah, basically, and then it wasn't even about you protecting Earth. It was to make sure Earth struggled, but to do it in a way.
Well, it was he was there to basically get the Earth ready for Voltron to overtake it.
Basically, think of the line. Think of the line from a very previous episode where Omni-Man went into that portal where all those Martian aliens were, and he went, "You don't seem to understand. Earth is not yours to conquer." And you're like, "Okay," and then you find out, wait. Oh no! Oh, that's what you meant.
That is how you recontextualize a scene, by the way.
Yeah,
that is so good.
It is so good.
And because it only clicks when during the second to last episode.
Yeah, when he drops the bombshell, and then obviously Mark hears all this. Here's it's this purebred kind of essentially intergalactic racism is what it is, because they want to make an empire that's exclusively this race. And what ends up happening is Mark tries to beat him up, and he says he thinks his dad's being controlled. And obviously that's not true, and Mark has to confront the fact that his dad is now essentially
a villain,
this monster, and then and then Omni-Man just chucks him about the plate like a rag
throws him about. He tries to fight back, he gets smacked. You see blood spear out of this episode.
The train scene.
The train scene is probably the one of the darkest scenes, because it's even before then he tries to save a building that then just collapses, and there's a mother and daughter that got killed in the process.
I'm pretty good with gore and stuff, and I mean I can't speak on behalf of you boys, but I'm assuming you are also pretty decent with.
Oh yeah. I'm not. It doesn't.
I couldn't. That scene, I paused it. I had to take a breath. And it's animated as well. It's not even real.
Yeah.
But I was just
afterwards I was just okay.
Okay. That's gonna be traumatizing for him, especially.
Yeah, because he's literally all he's trying to do is stop these people from being
killed,
destroyed. But there's nothing he can do. He's built different. So he is gonna just tear these people apart, and it is such a harrowing scene. And then we haven't even got to the best bit of the episode yet, which is afterwards. Omni-Man brings him to the mountains,
throws him on the ground, throws him into the mountain, and then just proceeds to keep punching him. And he's 500 years, or no, what was it? What would they bring? Another 17 years.
I can always start again.
Make another kid. And you're all just jeez.
He can live so long that the fact that Plan A in his mind, if you think about it, the fact that Plan A hasn't worked, it's oh well shit. Well, this is a bit of a setback. The human race kind of hate me, but all I need to do is. And this is kind of
this is different actually compared to Homelander, where Homelander wants to make sure he got that popularity, while Omni-Man stopped giving a shit.
Yeah, he doesn't
care about what humans think of him. All he wants to do, he cares about Viltrum, really. So it's more so a case of oh well, these first 17 years haven't worked out. Let's set my plan back a bit. But in his mind, they don't show you that. They don't tell you this explicitly, and it's a good job they didn't, because it's weird when told directly to you. But when you piece it together in your head, what he's thinking is, oh yeah, I can just make another kid. I will just go out and I will probably just have sex with another woman, create a baby, and he's probably not going to raise it with the mum. He's probably just going to take this one, if we're being real, because he tried to do it with Debbie, who he later goes on to call, I love her, like a pet. So he's probably
pet zoning. Okay, for anyone listening to the podcast and you've been friend zoned, be thankful, because you haven't been pet zoned yet. So
you haven't been pet zoned. That is another level.
That is just a lowest of the low.
If you have been pet zoned, we understand, and you should probably try.
Hold on, if you've been pet zoned, then they need to have a conversation, because that's weird.
It's an insanely rare occasion, I'm sure, but yeah,
But yeah, and then we get the brilliant line because Omni-Man starts beating the living crap out of Mark so he's like a bloody pulp. And then we get this cool flashback where
he's playing a baseball game.
And he gets the strike. And I thought the show was going to double down and be really cruel and not let Mark get it and let Nolan either be
But I think it got to Nolan instead, because he thought about it, because he saw the teeth and this and that he punched out.
Can you imagine if the show properly doubled down and just made Mark?
That would have been so.
Just proper punching the audience in the gut, just
Oh no! Right, the punches is when he's punching Mark and say another 17 years, and you hear the sounds and they smack it out with the speakers. You hear a punch and it zooms out every time there's another punch.
Yeah, it's so
impactful.
But the best line is when he
and he's like, oh, what will you do after 500 years? Who would you still have?
Because the reason I like it is because when Omni-Man's shouting at Invincible to be why, what will you have? I don't understand. I think he's he's mad because it's going against his plan, but I think he's also genuinely curious. He's trying to figure out, he's not being sarcastic. He genuinely is thinking, my son's not stupid. Why is he fighting for all these people? They're going to be gone before he even hits or looks 30. And then he asks the question, and then Mark just 500 years.
And then Mark just goes, I still have you, Dad. And it's just, it hits him. And Nolan just goes, shit, okay.
And Mark wins.
And you see he's about to break down. He's about to cry. He's trying to hold back the tears. You can hear him shaking. And then he just flies away. And here's something else actually I noticed that I forgot to mention. In between episodes 7 and 8, Nolan's eyes kind of change. You can see a bit of red around the corners.
They get bloodshot.
Yeah. That is until that moment.
Fucking, jams his thumbs into it. I hate that scene. I was like, I can't do eyes.
No. It's the moment his son went, I still have you, Dad. That's when it kind of changes, and then he just flies away, flies out of planet Earth and disappears. And
it's kind of he even though no matter how horrible his dad has become, you can still see, even if it's so tiny, there is still a love for his son in there.
Yeah, he did care about his kid. Even though you went, I could just make another kid, but it's oh no, he does actually care about his kid.
Because that's the Viltrumite in him. But then when he, like you said earlier, he has the flashback, he has the memory of his kid. He's I do have a connection, but I want to understand why he's doing this. There has to be a reason why he wants to save these people. and it's genuinely such a beautiful moment in the episode. It and that's what I think a lot of shows and movies in regards to like superheroes stuff don't understand. It's like, and I was thinking about this also in the context of video games, it's like the climax doesn't have to always be just a fight. Like, obviously we have a fight, but it's not really a fight. It's more like a torture scene, because Mark is not getting any hits in at all. Like, he's just being relentlessly destroyed. And we get the conversation, which is the climax, really. And that is what makes Invincible so good. And The Boys does a similar thing. It does have its fair share of fighting, but it's mainly dialogue. It's mainly characters coming to the end of their arcs that make the ending so much better. And that's why, you know, like, we love Endgame. Endgame's good. But we all knew that Endgame was going to build up to be a big fight. I mean, it had earned it, granted. But you know it's going to be a fight. Same with things like Justice League. I mean, those are the only two like real key examples of Justice League. I mean, I haven't seen the Snyder Cut, but I know but the one that was released in cinemas in 2017 was shit. was the fight was.
Oh, the Joss Whedon.
The Joss Whedon.
Oh god, the Joss Whedon cut.
And that's what the writers of Invincible know how to do. They know that the climax doesn't have to be a fight. It's the episode 8. I wouldn't even call a combat scene. I'll call it how I said it earlier. It's just a torture scene.
It really
is. It's just torture for 20 minutes straight, and then Mark wins.
It's gets his dad's feelings back.
Yeah.
That's what makes him stop. Is his emotions towards Mark after he says that.
Exactly.
And
I
think
we should. Yeah.
And it's the fight. And really, it's a fight between his dad and his son. It's not really Iron Man against Invincible. It was really weird watching that, because I was playing Miles Morales, the Spider-Man game, the other day, and I finished off last night. And spoilers for anyone who wants to play that game, but you fight the Prowler, which is your uncle, and I'm trying to contextualize that in me, like, fighting my own uncle, and it's the same thing here, where you would contextualize it with fighting your own dad, and like it's weird. It's so scary to even think about, because Omni-Man, when he's being nice, shared a lot of similarities between my father, so that was weird watching it. Yeah.
Like and I don't know how you guys felt about that, but I mean that made it even better, or like more emotionally impacting. And then,
basically, Invincible gets saved, he gets sent back to hospital, they get him cured. Cecil shows him something interesting, like, they go into, like, a bright room and it's completely white, but it's something to, like, he can switch something, and then there's this massive lab, but it's, like, you can only see this, is it, like, in the speed of light? There's only so much we can see.
It basically, America has in the Invincible universe, I mean, this could be real, we don't know what the Pentagon's getting up to, but water, the free tap water that America drinks from, has a chemical in it that stops people from seeing a certain shade of light, and so that's what's in that room. So it's almost like, even if you did manage to somehow, against all odds, break into the Pentagon, or like people like Mark, who they just need to show around and maybe not show the more sensitive parts, they keep the lights on a certain shade so that everyday people can't see it. But it does make me think, are the people in the Pentagon drinking different water?
Yeah.
Like, what's happened there? Or have they specifically designed like equipment so that they can see? I don't know. That just made me laugh. I like the idea of them going into more detail about like the more nuanced things about like chemicals in the water. And then it ends with Amber coming to see him, and I was just like, oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Fucking, I don't like you. You're a horrible person now. Go away.
Oh, yeah.
Literally.
It's, go on.
It's like when everyone sees Amber come through the door, it's like, ugh. But then when they see Eve and
William.
William's a lovely character.
We love William.
Good old William.
Yeah, he's good. He's a great character.
In quickly talking about characters, I did want to quickly talk about Rexplode and say that I controversially, I don't like him at all.
That.
Really? Yeah, he's a dick, 100%.
Yes.
And I think the thing that I don't like is that he doesn't really experience any consequences. Like, I mean, I don't know. He cheats on Eve with a duplicate, but then obviously, and then like in the next episode, he gets beaten up by Monster Girl. But A, they then become friends, and B, the only real consequence is that Eve doesn't join the Guardians of the Globe. But then she goes off to do better things, and the Guardians of the Globe like thrive, and Rex doesn't really get any consequences. He just kind of gets off scot-free, and I'm just like, oh, okay then. We're just not going to address that you're an asshole, I guess. Like, I don't know. I think he becomes, well, he is a dick still, but like I think he becomes a little bit better of a person.
He becomes a bit reasonable in a way.
He gets I think he kind of sees the error of his ways.
It's kind of mad that there's literally like a planet-destroying, conquering god in this, and yet somehow a human and a lesser hero are more irritating to me than literally the most like evilest character in the show. Like but then almost that's not a test. That's just writing. That's just bad. I mean, it's the first series. I don't want to have a go at Robert Kirkman because like 99% of the show is really good.
And also, you're experimenting, so you see what worked and what didn't work, and then you can fix that in the second season. Also, the ending.
Go on.
The ending bit with where Seth Rogen comes back like as the alien, but
Alan, because we didn't really talk about him, did we?
We didn't know. So basically, there's in the episode, it's like, oh, there's a guy who just comes to fight, but it's not really. It's a guy who comes to check on. It's like some sort of
like a quality assurance.
Yeah, quality assurance
that your
check.
planet is safe.
But the problem is, because he fought Nolan didn't say anything, and this is the same thing with the end in the first episode. Nolan didn't say a single word.
Nolan must have just been like,
this is an enemy, right? Let's go after him.
Yeah, like this is.
But it turns out he knew, like the alien knew who that was. That was a Virchmite, and then like he learned that he kind of got the planet wrong. It wasn't like Earth, it was Earth or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
And he looked, he went, and he's like, I'm in so much trouble because I've been doing this for the past 15 years.
Think about how nice Alan is. That literally, the moment he figures out that, like,
it's the moment I'm sacked.
He's like, I'm fucked. Bye-bye, Chief. The moment he figures out that Earth has a Viltrumite on it, he doesn't give a shit about his job. He goes back to warn.
There's going to be others now that are going to come after you, and they're not going to give up, which is like, terrifying.
And then he asked the question of, what are you going to do now that you're on top of things? And we get that really awesome montage of like all the consequences of Mark's actions throughout the show. And they're just, I'll probably finish high school. And on that note, can we talk about the soundtrack?
Yeah. Oh, the music.
The music in Invincible is so good. Let's get some of the what an interesting point. And I don't want to keep comparing to The Boys too much. But the first episode ends with a song featuring Iggy Pop, which is how the first one ends. Because in The Boys it's The Passenger, and then in this one I think it's Broken Boy.
Oh.
Yeah, which isn't an Iggy Pop song, but it does feature him quite heavily.
Oh right.
So there you go. Let's let me get some of the other songs up. You've got oh no, here we go. Season 1 soundtrack. So this is all no, this is not. None of this is what I think it is. Boys, make some conversation while I find out what songs are in the episode.
Actually, yeah. We'll talk about the theme song for Invincible that you hear in the credits, and it actually does have its own version.
It's really good.
It's good for what it is.
It still is quite the.
It's a generic superhero thing, but when you compare it to like a very dark show, which is about
kind of coming from like Superman's
Avengers
theme,
Wonder Woman, like
it's If you're talking like the DCEU Wonder Woman, that is quite a good theme.
That one's actually pretty good.
It's very different.
I do like the Invincible theme though, because it feels very powerful even for a very generic theme. And you compare it to the show, which is very dark, and you see what he goes through. We see what Invincible has to deal with and what he finds out. It's actually a very, like, he has a long road ahead of him, like, for these next few seasons. I've learned.
Yeah. I cannot wait to see what they do in series 2.
So do I.
Personally, because I've always been quite a fan of the bad guys, and I think Omni-Man's character is very interesting. I think he is a very interesting character.
I think, because I know what happens in the comics, because I did some research.
Yes, so do I.
He becomes like a good guy. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of want them to not do that. I kind of want him to stay either stubborn or just completely disconnect himself from like Earth and Voltron.
Yeah.
The idea of him becoming good now is kind of impossible. Like, the amount of stuff he has done. Like, he's killed 8 superheroes. He killed one of them twice. Let's make that 9.
He's killed thousands of people.
Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. He wiped out I mean, admittedly, they were trying to kill Earth, but he wiped out a planet for the wrong reasons. And he just... I can't see him going... to contextualize it, it'd be like if Thanos, after snapping, was like, do you know what, guys? You know what, actually, I feel bad. Let me help you get the Infinity Stones. Like,
guys, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, like, it just doesn't work. It's like, it's such a well-established thing that you've done. I feel like making him good would kind of be a kick to the teeth. Think, Kirkman! Think! Like, it doesn't work like that.
I think it'll be, well, because obviously, like you said, you know, it's already been done in the comics, so it'd be really interesting to just kind of, because like with the Walking Dead, it does differ from the comics a bit.
Yes, exactly.
So hopefully, this is the same thing.
Hopefully,
in the next seasons.
Well, the reason I'm a bit concerned that it isn't is because Amber was really crap in the comics, and yet they didn't change anything.
Yeah.
I think they did until they got that twist wrong, and so it makes me worry that they're gonna
try and make
yeah, they're gonna try and kind of stick to the comics a bit, and it's like I do like most of the other stories they do with the comics, but the thing with Omni-Man, not so much, and not with Amber either. That's why I don't want to keep comparing it, but it's why I like The Boys a lot, because the comics do some really weird shit that works in comics but wouldn't work for TV.
No. Yeah.
And so the writers of The Boys have a really good grasp on like how to make stuff work on TV and also make it more satisfying. Like I don't know about you guys, but the series 2 finale is like so good at how it wraps everything up.
Oh,
in, like, a nice, neat little bow. And obviously, this series isn't going to do that because it's the first series and they have 2 more on the way. But it just... I really hope that with series 2 and 3, because I'm looking forward to them, I hope they differ from the comics. I really do. I hope they change some stuff around. But yeah. Well, that's... Unless there's anything else to say...
It'd be interesting to see where this goes now in season 2 and 3, really.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to the and I mean, for me personally, in my opinion, it's a very rewatchable series.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, before we go, I just wanted to talk quickly about the soundtrack. I now have it up in front of me. We've got Broken Boy, which is the opening song. That's Cage the Elephant, and I believe that's the one that Iggy Pop features on. We've got things like Chase Me, which is like with Run the Jewels and Danger Mouse, which was originally made for Baby Driver, but has been used for Invincible, which I think is quite cool.
Oh, cool.
And then you've also got Don't Get Captured by Run the Jewels, which is just amazing. I can't remember where all of these songs come in, but generally they're a pretty good scene. They all fit contextually quite well. I remember not thinking that they're quite disjointed. The best song is the song that they end on, which is when the montage plays, and it's Hate to Say I Told You So.
Yeah.
Which is such a perfect song to kind of end this. It also kind of has a double meaning because it plays when he's talking to Alan, and Alan says the words like the first time they meet. Oh, invincible. That's quite ironic because I thought you seemed quite vincible, and then you get to see all the mistakes that Mark has made, and then with the song "Hate to Say I Told You So" after Alan's asked him a question, it's quite symbolic. Maybe I'm looking into it too much, but I just thought that song really well placed and really well done. That's the last I have to say on Invincible.
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
Altogether, absolutely fantastic show. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do like it.
I would say
I'm
9
really
out of
looking
10.
forward to the next season. 100%.
Yeah, same here. It'd be coming out. I would imagine it'd be coming out next year because of the animation, how long it takes. But it will come out the same year as season 3 of The Boys. So that's something.
Oh shit! It'll probably line up. Yeah, that's quite exciting. Wow.
So we'll have both of those.
Just cover on next year.
That will be fun. I am looking forward to just more of this like amazing Amazon Prime content. It's so good at the minute.
Same here.
And well, I think
we're gonna end it there.
I think that I was about to say that about does it. I think.
I hope you guys enjoyed listening to our thoughts on the show Invincible. I mean, if I would recommend watching it, but this was the spoiler bit. But it is a really good show. It seems like your typical cartoon show, but it does get dark. It does show some surprises. It does experiment with a few things here and there. Some work, a couple things don't. But hopefully that'll be improved for the second season. Like what went right, what went wrong. So yeah, this has been me, Kieron, Lewi, and Harry.
Thank you guys for having me back on again.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back on, yeah.
Yeah, it's great having you on, bud.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
It's always a pleasure.
Until next time, guys, we will see you guys later.
Bye!
See you later, guys.